Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. Before I get going, I want to remind everybody that until the 31st of July, I think at midnight, probably Pacific time, Link2 is going to have, who is one of my sponsors, they're going to have Ripple Private Equity on there. If you buy $10,000, I think it's for every $10,000, they give you $1,000 in XRP. So you might want to remember that one. Now, every once in a while, it's nice to watch CNBC and hear from the adults in the room, and Judy Shelton is one of the adults. You don't see the adults in the room show up on CNBC very often, but here she is.
What I wouldn't want is for the lesson from all of this to be that somehow government stimulus, whether monetary or fiscal, somehow is a good thing. I think there are very debilitating economic consequences. One of which is that the Fed is now paying 5.4% to banks to keep the money sitting dormant at the Fed, doing nothing. I think the overall effect of all the government stimulus, even as we try to normalize, which would be the best thing, is we are slowly shifting power away from the private sector toward the government. A lot of that GDP growth was hiring government workers and engaging in government finance projects. That means through deficit financing. That works its way into both employment and GDP numbers. But is that healthy? I still believe that the ideal system is to let individuals in the private sector pursue life, liberty, and happiness under conditions of a stable dollar and accurate price signals. So I don't want any of this to empower the Fed or the Fed to get too self-satisfied when it may turn out their model is not the right one for a capitalist economy.
Now, there are so many good clips that were going out around today, and this is one of my favorites. If you really want to capture why we're talking about digital assets and understand how our world is going to change into the future, this is a clip from Josh Takar from Ripple. It's one of those 1-minute things. And he's describing to you what the tokenized world would mean. And I'm literally waiting on a company. I think Securitize is one of them. I'm waiting on a company that I could go to and I could say, look, you should tokenize Auburn University's football stadium, or Auburn, approach Auburn University and say, you should tokenize the football stadium. And then you retain some of the ownership and you create tokens out of a percentage of it. Those tokens, knowing Auburn fans the way I do, those the sale would be sold out within minutes. And that's because investors are emotional. And when you go into that world with all of this that's been created, you'll totally start to get your mind around what's about to happen. And I think that this Josh Takar really captures it here.
This is tough. Hello, my name is Jazz Takar, and this is Crypto in a Minute. So what does a tokenized future look like? So first, let's define what tokenization actually is. Tokenization is the representation of real-world value on a blockchain with tokens. And so, if we think about financial instruments, I see a future where equities and bonds and other instruments are represented as tokens on a blockchain. I also see more illiquid assets, such as real estate, being represented on blockchains through tokens also. So what does the future hold? What does all this mean for us individuals? It allows us all to own fractions of assets we otherwise could not afford. I can't afford to fund a film, but maybe I can own a token that partially funds a movie. I could buy a token that represents a rainforest because I want to preserve it for ecological reasons. So look, I see a future where we all own value that we otherwise couldn't own. We own fractions of assets we otherwise couldn't own. And yeah, that's what I see.
Imagine this. My son's been working towards playing baseball for years. Imagine people in his town being able to invest in a token that represents the future value of him as a Major League Baseball player. I'm not saying he'll even get to the major leagues, but I'm just saying, imagine a world where you can create value and create a token that would represent something like that. People are going to be able to go to attorneys and literally create tokens that are around values of either existing assets or assets that could be in the future. The world we're heading, and yeah, here's the dirty little secret, folks. You're going to need things like the XRP ledger to build those tokens. That's why I'm a huge XRP fan and owner. All right. The bills that have been going through Congress, this congressman makes, I think this guy's right. As well as we've gotten to know Gary Gensler, I think that I'm so glad to hear that there are smart congressmen that are thinking things like this through. And this guy is right. It is absolutely massive what he's saying, because if you don't think like this, these crooks that run our government will try their best to find their little legalese ways around what the real intentions were.
There is one thing I want to express concerns about, and this actually falls under the jurisdiction of the Financial Services Committee, but it's under Title III, Section 302 of the bill. I just want to make sure that the SEC doesn't use this as an excuse to relitigate things that they have already litigated. And we have situations where people have spent tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in court against an extremely aggressive SEC. And I just want to suggest that as this bill moves forward, we need to make sure that we look at language that does not give an overly aggressive SEC any opportunity at all to take people back to court that they've already had to settle with in court. With that,
exactly. This guy knows exactly what kind of creep show we have running the SEC. Now, there are several great clips going around of James Wallace from Ripple. All of a sudden, CoinDesk wants to have Ripple people on.
I think we're all feeling great. We think it's a major victory for not just for Ripple, but also for the industry. We've been looking for clarity in the US for a long time. I think the real big takeaway is that, the judges ruled that, XRP in itself is not a security. And that is a huge breakthrough, a huge victory. So, yeah, we're feeling great. Thank you.
All right. And then we've got this clip. Darren Moore had pulled this one. Watch this.
Yeah, I don't want to second guess what the regulations are going to be, right? I think we'll obviously have to, the government at the end of the day is our client, right? We are providing the technology here. And just to give you a little bit more context on that, this platform that we launched recently, and Jen, I think we covered it a little bit on our discussion, is a platform for issuing either CBDCs or stable coins. You can issue either on a private ledger or on the public XRP ledger. And this is the platform that we've deployed in Palau and that we're deploying in other countries. At the end of the day, we are not the operator of that. We are the technology provider. Our clients, are the operators, and they obviously work on the regulatory and legal aspects of the currencies. We provide some thoughts on that, but at the end of the day, that's not our role in these projects.
The way that David Schwartz described it is, if you can imagine, let's say Palau, they built I'm not saying that's how they're doing it. I don't remember how they're doing it, but they could build a private walled garden, and then when the wall comes down, you could use XRP as a bridge to go from their walled garden to say Russia's walled garden. And then Russia's wall would come down and let the XRP bridge come into whatever their private ledger or whatever. And I'm not saying Russia's building on the XRP ledger. I'm just saying that's an example. And then here's another great clip from XRP Darren that he found.
I would tell you that outside of the US, the SEC case, had almost no impact on our ability to get conversations and projects going with central banks. I know here in the US, we focus a lot on the US, that's what you'd expect, but the reality is that the rest of the world does not see things the same way. I think it's been clear for a while that countries like the UK and Switzerland and Japan have been very clear that XRP is not a security. So anyway, moving on to the CBDC side, it's not really been an impediment. Since we started 2.5 years ago on this project, we've announced 5 different countries that are working with us. We have a similar number that are not announced, and then we have 20 plus other active discussions underway. So we've announced 5 different countries that are working with us. We have a similar number that are not announced, and then we have 20 plus other active discussions underway. So I would.
He's got that'd be if those came through. If the conversations turn into signed deals, that's 30 out of 195, 15.38% running on Ripple's CBDC platform that offers private or public XRP. Then we got this. Of all the people, now Liz Clayman, to my knowledge, has not even had John Deaton on her program. Charles Gasparino easily could have had John Deaton on the program, but he did not. Charles Payne had him on. Well, Liz Clayman, instead of having John Deaton on, has had Anthony Pompliano, who has made it clear that he's anti-XRP over the years. The Bitcoin guy, of all people, comes on to weigh in on the XRP ruling, and he's being very careful because he has a lot of bodies buried at this point, and he doesn't want us to start pointing them out. One of his bodies buried, I would say, is his Bitcoin pizza boxes, which I don't know if he's still selling pizzas or not, but his business was up and running a while back. It disappeared. All right, so here he is.
And
let's talk about when is it going to happen with XRP, because of course XRP has had an incredible run up, even as it's got the SEC breathing down its neck. It got a favorable judge ruling, court ruling rather, and we're waiting to see if the SEC will appeal that ruling, which basically was in XRP's favor. Right now it's at 71 cents. Where do you think XRP moves toward through all of this drama?
Yeah, I'm not sure about prices. What I do know, though, is you had a group of people who went ahead and they were building a business, building technology.
Yep.
The government came in and said, hey, look, what you're doing is wrong. You're violating these rules. And they went to court. And I actually think that we are now seeing cases that have been going on for a long time where we're starting to get some of the judgments. We're starting to get some of the clarity. People in the crypto community have been asking for regulatory clarity for a long time. People in the regulatory bodies have been saying the existing rules are the clarity, comply with them. And so I think in the XRP case, it's a great example where they went to court, they laid out their arguments, the regulatory bodies laid out their arguments, and a judge made a decision. Now there's appeals and other kind of knock-on effects, but ultimately in the country of the United States, going to court and making your case is part of what it means
freedom.
To have the best capital markets
100%.
and freedom. Absolutely.
Part of the U.S. and our laws is that Congress can move to regulate things. Actually, the Bitcoin and the crypto world has been begging for guardrails.
So what I want Anthony Pompliano to do is to call for an investigation of the 4 Satoshis who we have on video, Homeland Security saying they met with the creators of Bitcoin, 4 people, 4 Satoshis. I've never even heard him acknowledge that the video exists, and I know he's seen it because we've made sure over 200,000 people have seen the video. And I want to know why none of these people seem to want to address the elephant in the room, or maybe the 4 Satoshis in the room. Now, this Richie Torres guy deserves a lot of credit. I'm assuming, I don't even know. I'm assuming he's a Democrat, but he's saying that the Democrats are not anti-crypto. And look, if they get this bill passed, I've never said that it's one side. I think we've got bad guys on both sides, but I hope he's right here.
Yesterday, the Financial Services Committee in the House passed a market structure bill on a bipartisan basis, and the bipartisan support came from younger Democrats like myself who are open to embracing the potentialities of blockchain technology. So I see it as more as a generational divide. And as Congress becomes less of a gerontocracy over time, I suspect the institution will become more open to embracing crypto. Republicans generally are pro-business, so that's what's driving the Republican position. But to indiscriminately portray all Democrats as anti-crypto is to ignore the generational divide within the Democratic caucus.
Right. What he's really saying is we got to get these old codgers out of here.
And then setting aside the politics of Congress, I asked myself, what is crypto and blockchain? The combination of crypto and blockchain has the potential to revolutionize finance, creating a better, cheaper, faster payment system. It has the potential to revolutionize the internet.
You can say it, Ripple.
Creating a new layer of the internet known as Web3. It seems to me that the project of radically decentralizing both the financial system and the internet, decentralizing ownership, strikes me as a profoundly progressive enterprise.
If you enjoy.
Okay, I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family to help us get the old codgers out of Congress. Thanks for listening.